Moving with Clarity, the podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Moving with Clarity podcast. And today it's great to be joined in the studio by Louise Wooding from Clarity. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm well, thank you.
So we're talking about an issue that everybody's going to have to deal with, which is verifying the source of the funds that you're using to buy a property. And it's something that I think causes a little bit of concern to some people. It's a bit of a grey area where maybe you're thinking, what are they actually going to be checking? What trouble could I be in if I've done something wrong? And I think a lot of people, when they have to start sharing bank statements and things like that, there's a slight paranoia that creeps in. So hopefully this will set your mind at rest and basically explain what the process is, why it's done, and how it all works. So thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. So let's get started. Why do conveyancers have to verify the buyer's source of funds?
Well, as conveyancers, we have to comply with very strict AML, anti-money laundering regulations. We need to ensure that money being utilised to purchase a property has come from a legitimate source. Right.
Okay. So it's to stop criminal activity, and I think people buy expensive things as a way of laundering money because then when you sell it again, it's as if the money's all been explained. Yeah.
Cleaning money, yeah.
So you're at the front line of this as a conveyancer, and I would have thought that maybe this is something that, I don't know, the mortgage company would have to check instead, or do you both get involved with this process?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose ultimately we all have a part to play, including the estate agents. They have to sort of verify funding as well, but ultimately it lies on us to verify the source of funds. A lot of people think that we only need to see the funds available, which isn't the case. As well as seeing them available, we also need to establish where they've originated from, and that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Okay, so that's basically what source of funds means. It's where the money came from in the first place.
Yeah, where it's originated from.
Yeah, and how far, I mean, I guess it's hard to say where money originated from originally, because it might have come to you from a source that then has come to that source from another source. Do you have to kind of go back down the chain to kind of work out?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask us, how far do we need to go back? And the answer to that question is, it really depends on the individual circumstances. Obviously, if you've got someone that the funds have originated from savings, for example, if you can see a saving pattern, you could go back sort of 6 months, a year, and you can see a regular salary income, and then that fund's going into, say, a savings account. If you go back a year, you can see a clear sort of trail, a saving pattern. We often ask people for their P60s as well, so we can see, obviously, source of earnings, so we can establish their wealth. But yeah, it really depends on how far we have to go back to establish where they've actually originated from.
So if somebody's sharing their bank statements and other documents with you, and you're kind of trawling through that with your forensic eye, what sort of stuff are you looking for? What would ring alarm bells?
We look for, obviously, money coming in, where it's coming from. Is it coming from a salary? Is it coming from a third party? A lot of clients, they get gifts from third parties, parents, relatives, etc. We do have to do additional work when clients are getting gifts. It's always good to know that early on in the transaction, so we can get that paperwork sorted at the get-go, rather than try and hide it within your bank statements, because we will find it.
Yeah, well, especially if you're buying a house, it's going to be quite a big amount that's going into the account, and even if you do it in small installments, it's still thousands of pounds, so that's going to stand out. And I guess it's talking to the person that's given you the money to see where they got it from in the first place, and then might they have to provide bank statements?
They will do, yes. We have to get statements from third parties. If you are getting a gifted deposit from anywhere, we have to verify their identification as well and verify their source of funds. So we start at the very beginning or the very end, and we work our way back until we get back to the source and we're satisfied with that source.
That's fantastic. So I guess the problematic bank statement items are where you've paid back cash into your bank account and you have to explain where that cash has come from.
Yeah, cash deposits. We'd obviously ask for clarification as to where those cash deposits have come from. Obviously, some people do get paid, obviously, cash as for their earnings. What we would then ask for is copies of their self-assessments.
Okay, and what if people have been paying in money that, it's just been under the bed for many years in savings and they can't really prove where it came from, but it's just, or maybe money that they've won from gambling or selling stuff on eBay or through Facebook. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, every circumstance is difficult, so it's really difficult to say what we would need in every sort of situation. Obviously, if somebody said that they'd been keeping it under their mattress for the past 5 years, then unfortunately we couldn't necessarily prove the source, and therefore they wouldn't actually comply with our internal compliance and we couldn't actually act for them.
Wow, so then they wouldn't be able to use that money to buy a property?
Not without proving where it's originated from.
That's very interesting. And I guess certainly with some people, they do save in a piggy bank, or I think it's a bit of a cliche when they have the banknotes under the floorboards in their loft. But
I mean, if they could explain where those funds have come from, originated from, as I say, again, was it salary? It really depends on what answer they give, depends on what we would ask for.
Okay, and I think the main concern people have with this is just the time it might take to do the process of checking the source of funds. And I guess it can throw a spanner in the works if you're wanting to complete your conveyancing quickly. So what's the best way that you can prepare yourself for this process beforehand?
As conveyancers, we absolutely love just a current account and a savings account, so we can see money coming in and going into the savings account, regular saving pattern. What we really need is your funds to easy to understand and easy to prove, and just build a clear paper trail of where they've originated from. And an explanation is always good. So if a client says, it's come from my current account to my savings account to another savings account, we have a look at the statements. As long as they obviously can prove the statements follow that trail, then we're all good.
That is good. And obviously the government's bringing in Making Tax Digital, which means that a lot of people are going to need online kind of accounting software to keep track of their earnings, money that they pay out, and that's going to make everything a lot clearer, I think, because then you have to go through your bank statements and explain what everything is and make sure that everything's above board. So hopefully the process will get easier in the future. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely always a trail. Like, you going back to what you said about selling things on eBay, obviously it's all electronic. There's a trail.
Yeah, absolutely. But keep a copy of stuff. So maybe if you know that you're going to be buying or selling a property in the next year, and you do end up selling something on Facebook Marketplace, you could get a receipt, couldn't you? Or something?
Absolutely. Especially if it is for a large sum, like going back to the large cash deposits. We would query a large cash deposit into an account. If you've sold a vehicle, for example, if you've got keep a copy of the logbook, the letter from DVLA confirming that you've sold, because that's your evidence.
Yeah, that's a very good point, especially with big things like that. So who's actually setting the guidelines for conveyancers? Is there somebody that's telling you what the rules are, or are you just doing this because there's the kind of vague expectation that you have to check?
Ultimately, it's set by legislation. It's the law.
Okay.
Ultimately, money laundering regulations, proceeds of crime, etc. As conveyancers, we're regulated by the CLC. Solicitor firms, they're regulated by the SRA. They enforce.
So it's not just you being awkward. There's nothing. It's out of your hands. This is the law that you've got to do these processes. And I think it's important for people to understand, if they're getting a bit frustrated with the process, it's not your fault.
No, It's very intrusive. It's very intrusive, and it feels like we're being intrusive to clients. It's their personal information that they're having to divulge. Sometimes, as I say, we go back 6 months, a year. Sometimes we have to go back 5 years. 5 years worth of bank statements is quite an intrusive thing to go through.
Okay, so if you would like some advice on the source of funds, then get in touch with Clarity, because this is what they do. They make it nice and easy and simple. They're very friendly and helpful, and they'll guide you through that process as best they can. And Louise is the team leader in the residential conveyancing team, so she'll be there to help you through that process. That's great, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We will see you on the next episode of Moving with Clarity.